तीन रंग का नहीं वस्त्र, ये ध्वज देश की शान है। हर भारतीय के दिलों का स्वाभिमान है। यही है गंगा, यही है हिमालय, यही हिंद का जान है। और तीन रंगों में रंगा हुआ ये अपना हिंदुस्तान है। A very good morning and a happy August Kranti Divas to one and all present here. I, Tiyosubra Tumal, ANO of Eklavya Model Residential School, am here to talk few words on the great Quit India movement or Bharat Chhoro Andolon and Vocal for Locals, which is a Government of India initiative on the Make in India campaign. Okay. First of all, let me take this opportunity to thank respected commanding officer sir for giving this opportunity to me to on this special day. I would also like to thank respected principal sir of JNB Purulia, and a special thanks to uh, Mr. Abdesh Beta sir, my good friend and ANO of the ANO of JNB Purulia, who has put his time and effort to make this event possible. And all teaching, non-teaching staff of JNB and my beloved NCC cadets. Before I start my presentation, I must ask for your sincere apology, as I cannot be physically present there in the event for some unavoidable circumstances. As this talk is not going to be an interactive one, I will try my best to make this talk as less boring as possible. I will also try to make this talk more compact and more audio-visual, so that I don't have to present so many PPT slides that could be boring for everybody present there. Alright, so let's start with Quit India movement. We'll be first discussing what is Quit India movement. Quit India movement is the last mass movement in the British India. It started on August 9th, 1942. On August 8th, 1942, Mahatma Gandhi gave a clarion call to end the British rule and launched the Quit India movement at the session of All India Congress Committee in Mumbai. Gandhiji gave the call "Do or Die, Karo ya Maro" in his speech delivered at the Gwalior Tank Maidan, now popularly known as August Kranti Maidan. Aruna Asaf Ali, popularly known as the Grand Old Lady of the independence movement, is known for hoisting the Indian flag at the Gwalior Tank Maidan in Mumbai during the Quit India movement. The slogan "Quit India" was coined by Yusuf Meherali, a socialist, a trade unionist who also served as mayor of Mumbai. The Quit India means Bharat Chhoro. Naturally, the Quit India movement started with the demand to end the British rule in India with immediate effect to get the cooperation of Indians in World War II against fascism. Then there was a demand to form a provisional government after the withdrawal of the Britishers. Let's talk about the causes now. Well, it was the time of Second World War. The war started in September 1939 and the Japanese got a good hold in Southeast Asia. The British government wanted an unconditional support from India. Gandhiji and other Indian leaders took this opportunity to put the demand of independent India in exchange of Indian support. As a result, British government formed a mission under Stafford Cripps in March 1942 to resolve this problem, in their favor obviously. Let's try to understand what Cripps mission is. With Japanese aggression in Southeast Asia, keenness of British government to secure the full participation of India in the war, mounting pressure from China and United States, as well as from the Labour Party in Britain, led British Prime Minister Winston Churchill to send Cripps mission to India. Under Stafford Cripps, the mission was sent to resolve the Indian question of a new constitution and self-government. Main proposals of the mission were: an Indian union with a dominion status would be set up, It would be free to decide its relations with the Commonwealth and free to participate in the United Nations and other international bodies. A constituent assembly would be convened after the war to frame a new constitution. Members of the assembly partly elected by the provincial assemblies and partly nominated by the princes. Any province not willing to accept the constitution would be given the same full status as the Indian Union, designed to appease the Muslim League's call for Pakistan. The constitution making body and the British government would negotiate a treaty to effect the transfer of power and to safeguard the racial and religious minorities. The Indian National Congress, however, was not satisfied, as its demands for the immediate complete independence had been rejected by this commission. Mahatma Gandhi said that the Crips' offer of dominion status after the war was a post-dated check drawn on a failing bank. After the collapse of the Crips mission, the anti-British sentiments and demand for full independence had gained popularity among Indian masses. The 2 decades of mass movement, which were being conducted on a much more radical tone under the leadership of various associated and affiliated bodies of the Congress, like All India Kisan Sabha, Forward Bloc, etc., had already prepared the ground for the movement. There were militant outbursts happening in several places in the country, which got channelized with the Quit India movement. The economy of the country was also in shatters as a result of the World War II. We can say that the Quit India movement happened in 3 phases. In the first phase, it spreaded in the urban revolt, marked by strikes, boycott, and picketing, which were quickly suppressed. There were strikes and demonstrations all over the country, and workers provided the support by not working in the factories. Gandhiji was soon imprisoned at Aga Khan Palace in Pune, and almost all leaders were arrested. In the second phase, the focus shifted to the countryside, which witnessed a major peasant rebellion marked by destruction of communication systems such as railway tracks and stations, telegraph wires and poles, attacks on the government buildings, or any other visible symbol of colonial authority. And the last phase witnessed the formation of isolated national governments or parallel governments. Unfortunately, Quit India movement was opposed and obstacled not only by the British government but also from the internal forces in India. Muslim League, the Communist Party of India, and the Hindu Mahasabha did not support the movement. The Indian bureaucracy also did not support the movement. The League was not in favor of the British leaving India without partitioning the country first. The Communist Party supported the British since they were allied with the Soviet Union. The Hindu Mahasabha openly opposed the call for Quit India movement and boycotted it officially under the apprehension that the movement would create internal disorder and will endanger the internal security during the war. Meanwhile, Subhash Chandra Bose organized the Indian National Army and the Azad Hind government from outside the country. As a result, most of the youth community of India lost interest in the Quit India movement. Now let's talk about the outcomes of the movement. Apparently, the movement was a failure as there was no immediate effect on the British government of this movement was visible. The Quit India movement was violently suppressed by the British. People were shot, lathi-charged, villages burnt, and enormous fines imposed. Over 1 lakh people were arrested, and the government resorted the violence in order to crush the agitation. The British declared the INC to be an unlawful association. New leaders like Arun Asaf Ali emerged out of the vacuum of leadership. While the Quit India campaign was crushed in 1944, with the British refusing to grant immediate independence, saying it could happen only after the war had ended, They came to important realization that India was ungovernable in the long run due to the cost of the World War II, which was very vital and which played a very vital role in the India's independence within next 3 years. It changed the nature of the political negotiations with British, that ultimately paving the way of India's independence. Let's finish this topic witnessing the original footage of the brutality of the British government during the Quit India movement.
The leaderless people carried on the struggle in the face of excessive police repression. The world took notice. Brailsford wrote in the Manchester Guardian, "To face the lathi charge became an honor and a spirit of martyrdom. Volunteers went out in hundreds to be beaten. They gave a display of discipline and passive courage." Webb Miller, an American journalist, described the movement as the triumph of nonviolence over the armed forces gave Gandhi's idea of nonviolence his first victory. Gandhiji complained to the Viceroy about the unthinkable brutalities and savage methods. The Viceroy admitted, "The movement is serious and has permeated many strata of Indian society," and said, "I am satisfied that we shall not solve the real problem merely by repressive measures." Police excesses led to violent reactions amongst the revolutionaries. At the same time, a countrywide civil disobedience movement was launched to defy the British rulers by boycotting foreign goods, reading of banned literature, and refusing to pay taxes and land revenue. In certain areas, hardly any collection had been made. The authorities were merciless in their repression.
Alright, in the second part of my talk, I'll try to put some light on the central government initiative, Vocal for Local. I'll try to do so in a very quick manner so that I don't extend this lecture for a very long time. Alright, let's start with what do you mean by Vocal for Local? Vocal for Local is a mission of the country to be self-sufficient in goods production, self-reliable in manufacturing and supply, and to engage in self-consumption of items produced. This is the ultimate step towards the leveraging and domestic manufacturing industry in India. The support for economic globalization has been loud and clear since the time of immemorial. However, with the global pandemic in full swing, this concept has undergone drastic changes. It is basically the extension of the Make in India campaign, which further is the expansion of the Swadeshi movement idea conceived by the father of the nation Mahatma Gandhi and some great freedom fighters of the country. The Swadeshi movement was called for the use of the locally made products in the early 1900s. Vocal for Local campaigns in India. Indians have now shifted their domain of concentration to domestically made products to replace foreign goods and abide by their resolution. This step towards self-reliance has sparked a nationalist mindset among all the individuals in the country. Imported articles that have unconsciously become part of our daily lives have been screened to look for Indian alternatives. Our manufacturers have taken efforts to improve the quality of the production and implement the zero effect, zero defect policy. Need for being vocal for local. India's death count during the coronavirus pandemic has been escalating by leaps and bounds, making it the second worst affected nation in the world. Its deteriorating economy has shown tremendously depleting performance and created a mass economic crisis all over. The pandemic has brought people to their sense, making them understand that they need to meet their product demands by themselves. Effect of Vocal for Local pledge on Indian companies. It took us a massive global pandemic to point out the flaws in our global economic structure that the people were indifferent to all these years. With the restriction of international travel and movement, logistic companies have witnessed an immense loss. A consciousness that dawned upon growing companies during this phase is a labor division. Companies concluded that rather than manufacturing everything they could, if they only concentrated on some specific commodities, their proficiency in manufacturing that material would be enhanced manifold. This labor division had its consequences on the formation of connected supply chains all across the globe. The prime concern of production companies has drifted to fulfill the primary needs and necessities of all individuals. Maintaining substitutes is also an indispensable endeavor to avoid a situation of panic when the universal supply chains collapse. The mini-sized stores and daily wagers have been the worst victims of the financial instability during the pandemic. Thus, the vocal for local awareness emerged as a catalyst to revive the demand for local products. This acted as boon for those industries which were having a tough time coping with the deteriorating circumstances. Consequences of the vocal for local movement. As a result of the vocal for local movement, direct reliance on the imported products and international goods market has decreased. The pressure of import on the country has been mitigated. Domestic companies have found a mean of survival. India has revived the chance to emerge as a self-sufficient nation. Things that companies should keep in mind. Local companies should find the right agency to partner with. Agency that will understand the needs and interests of the local audience better. Businesses should target other local businesses for collaborations and grow mutually. Modern day entrepreneurs should be motivated to start their local sustainable companies. Strategizing local branding based on demographic requirements will provide you with ample opportunity to grow and expand. The cultural features, language, day-to-day activities of people about a specific place influence the success of the local companies in that area. So, thorough market research of local communities will give an upper hand to companies starting. Progress of companies. Companies have now reached an era where they exercise more autonomy over decision making. The development of the startup ecosystem in India via prominent companies like Ola Cabs, Oyo, Zomato, Paytm, and others is a direct consequence of the in-time and handy opportunities of angel investors and funding in the Indian economy. This is a positive sign of economic development. Thus, Indian companies have been seen striving for better scope of change. Domino's has already faced a setback in revenues while brands like Nestle, Dabur, and Patanjali are reaching higher supply levels in the market. Textile and handicraft companies have engaged themselves in manufacturing superior quality products. The service sectors in software, IT, and banking services have grown exponentially and maximized opportunities for future generations. Indian pharmaceutical companies have made remarkable profits all across the globe. Core manufacturing industries like those of electronics and automobiles need more infrastructural investments to be self-sufficient industries in the country. Government authorities, government authorities need to vow to support and back up local industries and domestic sectors. This will allow India to be self-reliable and capable of coming up with situations of crisis in the future. So basically, through the Vocal for Local campaign, Government of India tried to encourage Indian citizens to buy and support made in India products. I'll finish my talk by reminding you that the freedom you are enjoying is not free at all. It costed so many lives, so much of blood to wash the path of freedom. Please respect that. You can serve your country right from your comfort zone without holding a gun by just supporting and using more Indian local made products and by being a good responsible citizen. खुशनसीब है वो जो वतन पर मिट जाते हैं, मरकर भी वो लोग अमर हो जाते हैं। करता हूँ उन्हें सलाम ए वतन पे मिटने वालों, तुम्हारी हर सांस में तिरंगे का नसीब बसता है। जय हिंद, थैंक यू।